The base is dropped. It's a Monday. It's not a great Monday. It's a Monday after a cold, wet, dreary, nasty, unplayable loss on Saturday. I want to get one thing said before John gives his thoughts on the match, because I haven't had a chance to really dig into it with him. There's not a lot to really break down because of the way the match played out, but I want to get one thing clear. I think a lot of people are getting extremely bent out of shape about talking about the conditions and saying that it's an excuse. And the line that everybody pulls is both teams had to play in it. 100% correct. But there are two separate discussions here that have to be had. The way Atlanta United played, and generally, the way you're going to decide about how they played would be the first 40 minutes or so, because beyond that, it was hard to play soccer. And the conditions. Did the conditions lose the match for Atlanta United? Nope, they did not. They did not at all. They had nothing to do with switching off defensively on the first goal. They had nothing to do with not closing down Federico Higuain quick enough, and a number of mistakes leading to the second goal. Conditions didn't have anything to do with that. Conditions had a lot to do with the fact that you had no stoppage time in the second half. Let's play the what-if game that myself and Kevin Egan played at the airport on yesterday morning. What if, I think Atlanta had the ball in Columbus's final third right before the final whistle. What if Atlanta earns a corner and scores? Could you have seen Atlanta scoring off of a corner at that point? Zach Steffen's flailing for everything in the box. You don't know if it's going to skip or die or what. Yeah, could have absolutely seen a goal happen there. What if Atlanta scores a goal right there and then the ref blows the whistle at the end of stoppage time, or at the end of regulation time, because it's cold and the field is borderline unplayable? Is that how a match should be managed? No, it's not. The fact that no stoppage time was played in the second half, to me, shows that there was no reason that the game should have continued. Did that cost Atlanta United the result? Absolutely, positively not. It did not. But you cannot dismiss the fact that the conditions had an incredible effect on this match. You cannot dismiss that. I know people are frustrated about Atlanta United's results so far this season. That doesn't mean you can ignore facts. That's the problem that's happening right now. There are facts about the conditions. There are facts that the passing percentages declined for both teams by about half in the second half. That's unheard of. That doesn't happen. The second half was not soccer. The second half was unplayable. It was dangerous. You had Julian Gressel go sliding into a signboard. You had Mikey Ambrose slide in for a tackle, and he connects with a player in a very dangerous manner because he continues sliding. You had players trying to read if a ball's going to skip, die, or bounce normally. You could have had more injuries. It sounds like you had an injury to Franco Escobar, and a adductor is probably not anything to do with a wet field. Maybe it is. I'm going to assume not. I'm not going to put that on the field. But there are two separate discussions here. What we're going to do today is we're going to leave the field conditions out of it for the rest of the first hour, because it's causing way too much of a distraction about everything else. Please understand, though, I've been involved in soccer matches since I was a kid in 1986. I've been involved in matches at the professional, semi-professional, amateur, youth level since 1997. I've been going to matches since 1995. I've been involved with Atlanta United from day one. I've never seen anything like that in my career. I've never heard, as Doug Robertson of the AJC wrote, of players sprinting off the field in full uniform to jump into a hot bath. Never heard of that. The temperature dropped about 20 to 25 degrees from the start of the game until the final whistle. The wet field was ridiculous. All that is a factor in the match. Did it cost Atlanta the match? No, they conceded in the second minute when they were not switched on to start the match. We talked about it beforehand. You can't concede early because you know the conditions are going to deteriorate. They did, you did, and you were in trouble from there. That was what happened. So don't get bent out of shape when people talk about the conditions in a fair way. If people say that the conditions made Atlanta United lose, 100% incorrect. I haven't seen anybody say that. I've been tweeted at preemptively multiple times about, well, you can't use excuses. You can't mention the conditions. I haven't. During the broadcast and the full-time report, any hits I've done so far, any tweets I've made, the conditions were terrible. They were a travesty. They were a joke. The second half should not have been played. Shouldn't have happened. And there's a lot of discussion about how things should have been handled in that regard. That has nothing to do with the final result. Those are two separate discussions. But don't get so blinded by your frustration about Atlanta United's results that you can't consider that the conditions were historically bad and that there are discussion points out of that. There are. It's a fact. Louisville City down the road didn't start Saturday night. They pushed their kickoff back to Sunday morning because they saw these conditions rolling through. That happened right down the road. Cincinnati did play through it. They had turf, which made things a little different. If the rain had been the same things and the field had been playable, then there's no discussion. Field wasn't playable. The ball couldn't roll more than a couple feet normally. So that's the way I saw it, and I just wanted to make that clear because there's a trigger right now that when conditions are mentioned that people say it's an excuse, and I want you to understand that I'm not making that excuse. But there is a very important discussion to be had about the conditions because they were that bad. They were that bad. Brad Gazan, very vocal in some of the things he had to say about it. It was horrendous. I'm going to give you the quote from Will Trapp before we move on, if I can pull it up, because my computer, it's a Monday. It doesn't want to get started, because that's how we go. But Will Trapp had an interesting quote after the match. "We don't want to play tomorrow. We're playing now. We're winning. Let's just keep this thing going." The ref asked us if the integrity of the game was being jeopardized by the field and the weather. In a lot of ways, it was. But at the same time, neither team really wanted to stop playing and come back tomorrow. It's just a choice for the players and the referees. Now, neither team wanted to really stop playing and come back tomorrow. Brad Gazan said this after the match. "We probably shouldn't have come back out after the break. Conditions in the second half, it was a disgrace to be out there. The referee, Joe Dickerson, didn't know what was going on. We needed a ref to be strong about a stance. He didn't have that strength." There's been a lot of reporting about a discussion around the 67th, 70th minute about stopping it. It didn't stop. It continued. There was no stoppage time played. The decision to not play stoppage time, to me, showed you that you should not have played the second half in those conditions. Flat out. Because you did not manage that second half in the same way that you would manage any other second half. There should have been stoppage time. Probably 4 to 5 minutes. You're 2 goals down. You can't say that nothing would have happened in that 5 minutes. That's why you play it. You don't know. That's why you add time on when teams are wasting time. The fact that it wasn't makes a lot of sense. And Will Trapp, yes, of course. What's the most important thing about what he said? We're winning. Columbus doesn't want that game to get stopped. They don't want Atlanta to have a chance to recover and play on a normal field. They're winning. They shouldn't want that. Don't mistake that for saying that the conditions were okay. Now, I'm done with that. I just wanted to make that point clear because we have to be able to talk about the conditions without saying that it was the reason Atlanta United lost. No, the reason Atlanta United lost is they gave up a goal in the second minute. John, what was your reaction watching? Where were you watching and how were you watching and how did everything go on your end?
Watching in Office HD. And I'm going to once again, I'm going to have two separate discussions here. The reason Atlanta United lost, you gave up a goal early, you gave up another one. Bottom line, that's it. And I imagine that most of what I'm going to say probably could be held to the second hour. Because when you have players hydroplaning, when it's water polo or beach soccer, depending on your perspective as to how the ball was bouncing, and you saw players basically lifting the ball to themselves to continue momentum to get the ball down the pitch. When awful passing percentages for teams traditionally are what? In the 70s?
70's kind of your Mendoza line for passing percentages. If you're under that, you're bad.
Okay. When passing percentages are in the 40s and 50s, if I remember my numbers correctly from the second half.
Correct. Columbus was 45%.
And I will continue to go back to the issue of no stoppage time. There was a reason Frank DeBoer substituted Romario Williams and Breck Shea in there and pulled out Joseph Martinez as a part of his thought pattern. Because if all you can do, and if I remember correctly the way that you and Mike were describing it, basically, if I remember correctly, you were saying just bomb it down there and see what happens because that was your only alternative.
Mm-hmm.
If you got guys who are taller than other guys, you have that chance. And if I'm not mistaken, Breck Shea had 2 opportunities late.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be a fly on the wall for the discussion with Pro and Joe Dickerson. I don't anticipate that there will be much of one, but I'm hoping it's a learning experience for him as he continues to be the guy in the center circle going forward.
I thought Dickerson was actually fine during the match because you're in an impossible situation as a referee on a field like that. You can't judge intent because players can't control physically what they're doing, which takes you to the other part of the discussion. The way he called the match, fine. There was nothing horrendous. I've seen a still shot of down the line, it looked like on the first goal, and maybe there was a hint of offside. Nothing conclusive. The way the match was called was fine. The way the match was managed with the conditions was awful, and it was a really difficult decision or a difficult discussion for a young referee to have and a difficult place for him to be. I think he'll be fine as a referee in general, but yeah, I think Brad's correct in that you needed a referee who was going to take charge of that situation and make things very clear and not have a discussion where Will Trapp is talking about, well, we want to play, and I think the other team wants to play, and we should play. And you have Atlanta United players very clearly saying they don't want to play, and Brad Gazan reiterated that after the match, and those were your 2 captains who had a very different perspective on things.
And the discussion in the 65th is what sticks in my mind, where there was a gaggle of folks that included Brad Gazan, and I believe it was after the Miles Robinson foul.
Mikey Ambrose foul.
Okay, so it was after the hydroplaning. Okay. So if I'm remembering the parabolic mic correctly, and this is about as close as I could hear, and I apologize to Brad if I misquote him. The reason, and this is indirectly quoting, the reason that foul happened is that this field is a disgrace.
Okay, now that could have been the Miles Robinson foul, the one that led to the penalty. That was earlier.
This is the 65th minute. Yeah, this was the 65th minute, and you also had one of the Columbus assistants saying that this is not the NCAA for whatever reason he decided to say that.
Yeah, now somebody's tweeted about that, and I don't know, and we should probably be clear in saying we don't know who said it. It could have been a Columbus assistant. It could have been a spectator. I don't think there were many spectators in that area at that stage. There were some, but yeah, I mean the whole NCAA thing. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
So
I don't know where that goes.
Yeah, but if I'm remembering watching the match in and of itself, it came from someone who was positioned behind Caleb Porter.
Okay, then that would have to be someone from the bench area. It could have been a player, could have been a trainer, could have been an assistant coach, could have been a lot of different things.
Yeah, someone positioned behind Caleb Porter.
Okay, then the Brad Gazan comment was after the Mikey Ambrose foul, the yellow card that was reviewed. It appeared, it looked like there was a motion to go to VAR to check to see if it's a red. The Miles Robinson penalty, which happened in the 58th, or the save on the penalty kick was in the 58th. Okay. The foul was probably 56, 57. So there you go. Yeah, looks fun, huh?
Yeah. So I am separating my arguments. Once again, Atlanta United lost, gave up 2 goals, and once again, paraphrasing Mike, they won 2-0 in a 40-minute match.
Pretty much.
And for me, I do not think that they should have come back out after the delay, honestly. But you look at conditions, you look at what you guys were doing in the end zone trying to call a match, and I tip my hat to Columbus for making sure that you guys had a position to call it. But for me, it is 2 separate arguments, and once again, as you have been saying here in the opening statement, don't blend the two to explain what happened in Columbus. Take the 2-0 in the first 40 minutes, put that to the side. That's one argument. The dangerous continuation of the match from coming back out onto the pitch, warming up, playing the remainder in basically Lake Erie, to me was inexcusable, should not have happened. There's a larger issue there. So I'm parsing my arguments here, and I'm just asking everyone not to blend what they saw into one argument, because it's not the case.
Okay, question before I play it. The clip from Brad Gazan in the 65th, is that suitable to play?
Yeah, I believe so, because I listened to it and cut it. I do not believe that there are any of the Choice Carlin 7 that are involved.
Okay, well here is, and this is from the field mic.
And this is from the broadcast itself.
Okay, so this is from the Fox Sports South broadcast, or is it did you get the Ohio feed on?
No, this is Fox Sports South. This is, and I think you hear Kevin and Dan off the top, and then they lay out.
Okay, wanted to be really clear in where this is coming from. So this is after the Mikey Ambrose foul that led to a yellow card for Ambrose. It led to potentially, if we could read the body language correctly, a review and a check on if that should have been a red card for a dangerous for a studs-up tackle, essentially. And it sounded like from multiple people that there was a discussion about the match continuing at that stage. This is overheard from the Fox Sports South broadcast. You can hear Brad Gazan in just a second. Here you go.
It looks to me like the referee may be stopping this game again. Here we are on the 65th minute, having a word with Caleb Porter and his assistant. And the Atlanta United players are making their way off the field. We'll do our best to find out if there's lightning in the area. Certainly the field has made this game, obviously, stating the obvious here, incredibly difficult to continue this game. And
yeah, you could hear somebody say this isn't the NCAA, pal. You could hear elements of the rest. It's it's not exactly easy to tell because it was pouring down rain at that point. Look, it was like I told you, I've been involved in this game in a variety of different ways for a long time, and I've never seen anything like it. The only comparison I have is the MLS Cup final in 1996. And the differences there were, it was the first championship match in the league's history. You had a national TV window that you had to hit because it was that important for the league. It was Super Bowl I. There's really nothing you can do except play that match. This one was not that. Now, I know people are going to say, well, DC United came back in that, and they did. They did. The match was also played under some different kinds of rules because you had clock stoppages and you had a countdown clock and all that kind of stuff. You had sudden death, golden goal, extra time. So we don't know how stoppage time would have been handled in that situation. The clock was stopped at different times. They didn't go with a running clock, I know that much, and say, well, no, we're not stopping the clock. We're getting this thing done. They didn't do that. Now, that's essentially what Dickerson did by not playing any stoppage time. All right, we're going to leave the condition stuff to the side for now. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk about what happened at the start. What happened on the second goal. We're going to talk about those two situations because those were the only two shots on goal Columbus had outside of the penalty. They did hit the bar one time. Those are the only two credited shots on goal. Those were the two goals. We're going to talk about what happened on those and what Atlanta United needs to improve upon to not have those things happen again right after this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. April 1st. Overreaction Monday. Lots of reactions, eh? Atlanta United 2-0 losers in Columbus. We've talked about conditions. I'd said we were going to push it off. I believe Jarrett Smith chimed in through the interwebs.
Correct. On the Twitters, he said, for what it's worth, I've filmed Georgia State games that were called off with conditions that were just about as bad. NCAA comment gave me nightmares, and he posted an 8-second video of Panthersville looking like Lake Panthersville.
Yeah, and I've seen some people mention the grounds crew, the stadium, or whatever. Look, those guys did everything they could. Maybe they needed more squeegees. I don't know. I mean, you had people out there squeegeeing.
How do you squeegee grass?
you're just pushing standing water off. You're just pushing the standing water off to the side of the field. You're trying to get the standing water out of the field. It's about impossible. I mean, because the water's just going to keep coming. That's the problem you're in, is it's not letting up at that point. And it got harder at different points in the second half. But let's put that to the side for now. Let's talk about the way the match started. We had just finished the Five Stripes countdown. Number one key to the match for me was you have to score first. You know things are going to get bad. You can't rely on a comeback late because things are going to get bad. They got worse than I expected. And I mean, I had been checking the weather. I am no staff meteorologist like Mike Conti. But yes. I was checking the weather. I knew there was a strong potential for a thunderstorm when I arrived at the stadium, and we'll talk about that too in a little while. Stadium staff said, yeah, we're prepared for a thunderstorm and we're prepared for a lightning delay. It was pretty clear that was a strong possibility. You knew it was going to keep raining all night. You knew it was going to get colder. The temperature doesn't really affect too much. And, you played the way you did. Now, on the Atlanta United perspective, what can you control? You can control how you come out and start the match. You came out and did not start the match in a switched-on manner. We talked about the lineup on the AT&T countdown to kickoff, and it was lined up in a 4-3-3, which should have played out like your line of four. Mikey Ambrose on the left, Franco Escobar on the right, Miles Robinson, Leandro Gonzalez-Perez in the middle. Pretty typical. We all get that. Eric Remedi was your defensive midfielder, your six. Early on, he dropped in between the two center backs in possession, as we see very frequently with a defensive midfielder in that type of setup. Jeff Lorenowitz did it throughout 2017. It's very typical to control possession that way. Remedi did that. Now, the way it should have played out in front of him was one of two things, and I'm honestly not sure, and this is where the conditions deteriorating does make it a little difficult to know what the full tactical plan was. The way I expected it to play out was Julian Gressel and Darlington Nagbe ahead of Eric Remedi on either side of him, splitting the field. Ezequiel Barco in a free roll, but typically off to one side. Tito Villalba off to the other. Joseph Martinez up top. The way it looked like it kind of played out was a little closer to a diamond midfield with Barco as your 10, Gressel and Nagbe as your 2 box-to-box guys, Remedi as your 6. It was pretty fluid. In the attacking end, it was fine. You created more chances than you have in most matches this season. Zach Steffen made, 3 ridiculous saves?
Yes.
The Julian Gressel header, the Ezequiel Barco first-time shot off the skip, that I still don't know how Steffen got that one. He's at full stretch, gets it with one hand to push it wide. That's the save of the night. And then the Breck Shea save late in the match. 3 huge saves. Okay, so the way the shape worked out attack-wise, completely fine. I think it was good. I think Barco played well until it became pointless to have somebody who is strong for dribbling on a field that you can't dribble on. Defensively, you switched off twice. Really bad once, and that was the first one. The play started on the right side, and I don't know if the instructions were not clear or I don't know if players were distracted, but it was way too easy for Columbus to switch the point of attack from Atlanta's right to their left and then back across. Julian Gressel was lost in his marking defensively. I don't know how Pedro Santos is that wide open on the back post. There also needs to be better communication from the back line as things are breaking down. Miles Robinson took Robinho, I think, as he switched over and created an overload. This is where you're missing a guy like a Michael Parkhurst, who is your natural communicator there. He did not start. He was sick and missed training on Thursday, was in the 18, but didn't start. I don't think anyone stepped up and communicated as that play was breaking down, but Gressel got caught ball watching. I thought Gressel really struggled in this match early on. I think he grew into it, and the fight from him as the match continued was incredibly impressive. I thought the fight for everybody was impressive, but from Gressel especially, because he struggled early. And he struggled on the first goal. And I think it was him losing positioning on the first ball on that side before you see the replay in the clip where it's switched over to Columbus's right side, Atlanta's left. I thought Gressel lost his mark. And then when the ball's brought back across, Gressel is defending space, not a man. And Pedro Santos is free on the back post. It's one of those mistakes you just can't make. You just can't make at that stage. And when you do that, in bad weather, on the road, and conditions are going to get worse, you have dug quite a big hole for yourself at that stage, John.
Yes. And in trying to replay that first goal back through my mind, I also want to say, and this is not sloughing off having Santos alone at the back post, but as Miles and Rubinho were both sliding in toward Brad Gazan, the ball deflected basically underneath the two of them. And I think that's what the initial idea was for Rubinho and Miles to sit there, or Rubinho to go in, have him make the touch, and basically slam dunk it. So, there was a
Miles
bit of
might have gotten a touch there.
Yeah,
there was a slight deflection. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was getting at, is that I thought that there was the idea was, Miles getting in there, slight deflection. But once again, this does not excuse what happened at the back post.
No, he's open.
And,
he's wide open.
Wide blank open was how open he was. And you can't have that. You can't have that early in a match, and knowing what conditions are going to be and what they were, you can't afford to have something like that go down that early. And then you're having to fight back period, from the second minute, trying to sit there and get an equalizer. And Jared also made the point that Stefan basically made 4 if you count what the Tito Villalba shot.
Yes, correct. He made 5 on the night. So, I remembered the 3 big ones, and I forgot about the Tito one, which, yes, is on the list too. So, you look back at the replay, and on that first goal, and this is after you had an initial mistake where it was easy for Columbus to retain possession on their left side, Atlanta's right. The cross comes in from the right side, and you have Zardes and Miles first going for it. Sorry. Escobar is with Rubinho, and he's defending him well. Brad comes off his line on the first attempt because it looks like Jossie's going to have a chance to shoot on goal from there. And when you freeze frame it after the deflection, you have Pedro Santos with, I'm going to try to guess, about 10 yards of a radius circle around him in the 18 on the edge of the 6. You can't
have that.
You can't, and that's why you concede there. Now, before the lightning delay, Gressel had his best chance of the night. The header that Zach Steffen saved. Joseph Martinez charges in to try to pounce on the rebound. He goes down. Then there's an offside ruling made that I still can't figure out.
No.
Doesn't matter. It could have been a penalty. Probably would have been a tough decision to make, although Joe Dickerson made one later in the second half and gave a penalty for, not much as well. So you had that, and then you had the break. Right after the break, Atlanta looked I thought Atlanta grew into the match from giving up the first goal to the break. I thought they were creating chances. They were getting forward. Doug Robertson tweeted it. Many people tweeted it. This looks good. This is Atlanta United like we know. They're getting forward. They're spreading the ball. It looks very good here. The field was still playable at that stage except for a few spots. Then you had the break. Atlanta came back, looked good again. You had the cross that created the Ezequiel Barco chance. That's the one that I don't know how Stefan makes that save. I'm just astounded that he made that save.
Yeah, he's a warlock until further notice.
Yeah, and then you had the goal against the run of play, the second goal, the one that you're just absolutely stuck on. Running through it real quick, Mikey Ambrose with the cross, great cross to Gressel. His header, Stefan makes a really good save. Joseph goes down. There's an offside ruling made. Stefan gets down quickly to get his left hand on that save. Then you come back from the break. It's Escobar with the cross in. It takes a hop. Barco hits it off the hop as it gets through Joseph Martinez and Josh Williams, and Stefan makes the save of the night. Then you have the breakdown the other way, where Gonzalo Higuain slips a ball in. You have Escobar, you have Robinson, you have Gressel, all out of shape, all out of whack. And there's way too much freedom for Santos to run down the left side. Higuain with an Higuain kind of play. A beautiful little just flip of the ball, probably outside of his foot, to get around to create the space. Then I think it is Higuain who plays the ball into space for, let's see. Sorry for Robinho, as I'm looking back at it. It's been a long weekend, folks. And he crosses it in to Zardes. Santos was on the other side. My bad. But on that initial ball from Higuain, when you go back and you freeze it there and you look at it, that's where you see that the shape is just gone. Escobar's pinched up high. Robinson tries to close down Higuain. LGP is with Zardes at that point. Higuain eliminates Escobar and Robinson with his split, his pass to Robinho. Then you have Nagbe trying to track back to the top of the box. LGP trying to take space between Robinho and Zardes. Escobar and Robinson are just trying to recover. Escobar tries to get to Robinho, can't get there. Zardes with a very nice little bit of play because Mikey Ambrose is pinched in too to try to help LGP. Zardes stops his run and drops off. Robinho drops it to him where Zardes is in between Ambrose, LGP, a recovering Robinson, a recovering Nagbe. And he touches it home. So that's 6 players that were involved in this defensively. There's really not much Mikey Ambrose can do as he's kind of collapsing down to try to help. LGP can't really put a lot of blame on him because he's trying to clean it up as well. Zardes just beats him with a nice move in the box. It's a great cross from Robinho. And Robinson, Escobar, and Gressel are the 3 I think you look at here who get caught. Again, it's a defensive breakdown. You get switched off, and you concede. And now you're down 2-0 as the conditions have gotten a whole lot worse. It's done at that point. It's a miracle to come back at that point.
No, I'm completely and totally in agreement with you at that point because of having to get uphill from doing something in the second minute to conditions worsening and having to do that down 2-0. It is Herculean. And once again, you saw Atlanta United try to do things in the latter parts of the monsoon to try to get things done with height, but they couldn't do it. And, I will also second your discussion about no stoppage time and the ability to have possibly created something there. So, you just shake your head at this and you sit there and you go, okay, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but bottom line was it was a 2-0 loss.
The thing here coming out of it, team has to start matches better. You can't concede that early. You can't concede knowing the situation. That's an issue. That's a big, big issue. And now what this does is, let's be real. You have a absolute backs against the wall moment going to New England in a couple of weeks. And you've put a lot more pressure on that match than you'd like to have. You can call it a must-win. I'm not going to argue with you. Because what I worry about is if you go there to New England, you have a bad performance, you lose that one, then you're coming home for back-to-back matches. The vibe's going to be awful. The atmosphere is going to be bad. The talk is going to be loud. And you're going to have some issues with your confidence. Flip side is you go to New England, you win that match after this 2-week break where you should come out and look sharper, better, stronger, more healthier, like just everything. You should look, a little more, organized, all these things. You go up to New England, you win that match, then you have to back-to-back at home. You could string some points together, and then we're having a very different discussion. But this New England game is, you hate to call an April 13th match a must-win, but you're pretty much right there at this point. It's that big. And it's pretty big for New England, too. They did get a win this weekend, and that helps them a little bit. That eases some pressure on Brad Friedel and his group. But for Atlanta United, you don't have that luxury going to New England. You're in a situation where you lose it. You think it's an overreaction Monday today.
Yeah.
Overreaction Monday after a loss in New England. That could get ugly. Really ugly. Let's take a break here. If you have questions, if you have comments, throw them at us on Twitter at SoccerDownHere. We've got a couple more segments in hour number 1. Jay Riddle from the Unrelegated podcast is going to join us at 10 o'clock. We'll get his thoughts. We'll find out where he was watching the match and how everything went with that. I think he was actually at a party and watching it on his phone, which I'm sorry he went to all the trouble because it was not really one you wanted to watch on your phone or anywhere because it was that bad. But we'll talk to Jay, get his thoughts, get his pulse of the fan base at 10 o'clock. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
And we're back. Soccer Down Here, Overreaction Monday. Let's go to the Twitters. What do we have on an Overreaction Monday timeline, John?
Okay. How overreactive do you wish to get, sir?
Go for it.
All right. Tafka. First most recent line. Asking for a friend. If you had to guess, does FDB have immunity for the season where no matter what he stays, or is there a realistic scenario where he doesn't finish the season?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think there's always a scenario for any manager that they don't finish the season. I think it's hard to say that anybody has complete immunity. Now, I think people have different levels of diplomatic immunity. And I don't know where that is. I don't. And I said it when he was hired and the talk came up about Crystal Palace. I think that was a joke of a move from Crystal Palace, and it made the club look bad. Now people are using that about things now, and I don't think they're the same situation at all. I don't think you should pull the trigger that fast. But if you're in a position, and now let me make one thing clear in the way that I'm seeing it. I think the team is improving. I think Alyssa Martin actually had a really good tweet at us during our impromptu rain delay show. Atlanta United is winning the overall play at the moment. And I would say that was the case in Columbus. I would say that was the case against Philadelphia. I would say that was the case against Monterey. I'd say that was the case against Cincinnati, although Cincinnati was the least of those. But they're losing the moments. You should not have conceded against Cincinnati after scoring early. You should not have conceded the goal you did against Philadelphia. And you should not have conceded either of the goals you did against Columbus. Now, the progression has been you're also creating more chances. And Saturday, even in the muck, you created the most chances you have all season, outside of the Herediano game, I believe. You fought hard, too, and that's the other side of it. I mean, how many times, John, do we see this situation where you're in this predicament? There's pressure on a manager. There's concerns about a manager. One way you can judge on how things are is, does the team fight for him or her?
Yeah. Do you lose the locker room?
I don't think that's the case at all. This team battled in horrendous conditions Saturday night. I thought they were fighting hard to find a goal. I thought the fight was outstanding Saturday, and that's why I think you've got a longer leash than some people are trying to make you believe.
And I'm going back through Alyssa's comments that probably were on the show. Your rain delay show. I guess I should say rain delay show.
Yes, there you go.
Might be winning the trend, but we've been losing the moments all year. I feel like that's an issue with sharpness on offense and lost concentration on defense. How does this change?
Being sharp, being organized, being on point in every match, not getting distracted. You were distracted to start. You were distracted on that first goal. You made some individual mistakes on the second. The second goal was actually kind of reminiscent of the goal in Dallas that was the equalizer, where you had players stretched out and making individual bad decisions that were then compounded. So it does happen. But the fight, to go back to Tafka's question, the fight, the attitude this team had in this match doesn't make me think that Frank DeBoer's lost the locker room. Not worried about that. I think that gives him time. Now, again, I think the way the results have gone, the New England match has a lot more pressure on it than it should have.
Yep.
And if that doesn't go well, then you better see a team with its hair on fire when they come back to the bins. But I worry about everything at that stage. I do.
Santa United, who has one of the better killer scarves that is out there this year.
Of course.
I'm going to go against the masses and say I believe in Atlanta United. I believe in our players, in their talent, intelligence, skills, and sheer will to win. They know how to win even without Miggy and it'll click. They will be back. Hashtag Overreaction Monday.
I had that feeling after watching the match. I think they did show that they'll be back. And I thought Barco playing as more of a 10 worked. And there's the question about the shape, too. And look, when you concede that early, things kind of go out the window in terms of tactics and shape and what was intended and what you're having to do. That's, again, why you can't concede that early. But was Gressel intended to be a right winger in a 4-2-3-1 with Barco as the 10 and Villalba on the left? Maybe. It didn't really play out that way. Was it supposed to be more of a diamond midfield? Maybe. I could see a lot of value in that because you're trying to overload where Columbus is strong. Now, the game didn't need any of that as it went on because you're not managing it on normal soccer tendencies. But you had some issues with the shape at the beginning. Now, I've seen some people say that, and I believe it was it was Matt Doyle who said it, and I don't think Matt watched the last couple of games. I don't think he's watched them all because he said now that it looks like Atlanta's getting the 3-4-3 under their belts, they all of a sudden switched to a 4-2-3-1. They had switched to 4 in the back in the Monterey match and in the Philadelphia match. We've talked about it a lot. You know, there were tactical moves in those matches to go to 4 in the back. It was pretty clear you were going to do that once Franco Escobar was available. So I don't think the lineup, the formation was an issue here. I know that question has come up, but the formation didn't cost you. If you had stayed switched on at the beginning, then we could have seen what the formation would have done. When you give up that early, you can be in whatever formation you want to be. One more before we go to break.
Let's see. Let's see. I'll save Chris Hutchison for the weather. Oh, there's the Alyssa Martin retweet. John Nason, and it's kind of weathery. Does this type of decision regarding playing conditions come up in CBA discussions or players union stuff? Include the snow game in Denver week 1 in the discussion too that should have been played, either, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, it could. It absolutely could. I mean, the interesting thing about it, and we'll get into this stuff more. It doesn't change the result, but the interesting thing about it is the fact that you had a USL Championship match down the road in Louisville get postponed to the next morning because of weather coming through. And they had a lot of rain. I don't think they had lightning beforehand. I don't think they did. I'd have to go back and look at the timeline for Lou City. They did try to get the match underway. And actually, I think they did have lightning. Either that or they just had so much water that the field was unplayable. Because they did try to play. They didn't actually ever get on the field. And then they postponed it the next day. I was a little surprised as things deteriorated that wasn't considered. So, does it come up in CBA discussions? It can, yeah. I mean, it's a player safety issue. And there were issues that I was worried about player safety. But luckily, I don't think the field contributed to any injuries on the night. Harrison Offal, I believe, went to the hospital after he was hit in the head. I think with the ball. I don't think it was a person. I think it might have actually been a teammate. But he was hit in the head. He went to the hospital. He left. He was subbed out during the break. He was subbed out as the teams came back onto the field. And Franco Escobar had to leave, and it's been reported as an adductor injury. I don't know if the field had anything to do with that. But player safety is an issue, and if I'm the players, yes, I would be very upset about it. And I think now that the result's done, I hope Columbus players say something about it. Because it was a travesty for everybody involved in the second half as the game just deteriorated into nothing. Let's take our final break of hour number 1. We'll come back with a couple more Overreaction Monday topics and tweets before we get Jay Riddle on the line. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Final segment, hour number 1, Overreaction Monday, SDH, April 1st. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, and you guys on the Twitters. What's next, John?
All right, Caleb Cook has been busy this morning, so we're treating him as a group.
Okay.
First off, at this point, with the talent and depth on this team, the level of play is unacceptable, regardless of field conditions. This isn't about Saturday night. This is about the season. It's embarrassing if we give it a pass for Saturday night and continue to make excuses. When does it have to stop?
What excuses have I made? Zero. Not making excuses. You gave up an early goal when you couldn't give up an early goal. It's unforgivable. You can't do that. You cannot give up a goal in that situation. Everybody knew it. Everybody talked about it. It happened. That's a problem. Again, though, the conditions did affect the second half. Did they change the result? No, they didn't. Did they affect your ability to come back? Yes. Did that make the mistake even bigger to give up the first goal? Yes. Overall play, if you want to think that it's getting worse, I don't know what to tell you because I don't see that. If you want to think that this team is playing the worst soccer in the league, I really don't know what to tell you. Because I've watched a lot of teams in this league, teams with better records than Atlanta United, and the quality of play is not that much better. I don't even think it's better in a lot of cases. I think there's a lot of teams that Atlanta United is outplaying and not getting the same type of results. That's how I feel about it. You can disagree with me. That's completely fine. But that's not making excuses either. Those are two different things. So I wanted to make that clear. I think there was more?
Yes, the precursor to that one.
Okay.
Well, here we are again. Field was abysmal. Game shouldn't have happened, but giving up a goal 3 minutes in, nothing to do with the field. This defense is clearly lost, clearly all in caps. Only major player that isn't here from last year is Garza, yet here we are.
Here's the question I have about the defense is clearly lost. I don't understand where that's coming from. If you want to say anything was lost in this, it's not the defense to me, and it did get corrected as the match went on. Eric Remedi as the 6 was losing Federico Higuain far too much. We talked about it on the radio broadcast. Our angle was actually great for watching the tactics play out. And Remedi was getting disconnected from the back line. Higuain was finding the space in between the two. That was an issue. Now, Columbus gets a couple goals. They don't have to be quite as expansive. That helps them. Also, I thought Remedi got better connected with his back line as the match went on. You conceded 2 shots on goal, and you gave up both goals on those. You didn't give up a ton of shots. You doubled the number of shots that Columbus had. You're not giving up a ton of shots. You're among the best teams in the league in giving up shots and shots on goal. The numbers are there. So to say that the defense is clearly lost, I would disagree. The numbers are showing it. What's happening, in my opinion, is a little more back to what Alyssa's saying, is that it's not the overall defensive play, it's moments in it. It's where players get switched off. It's where players make individual mistakes. That's not the overall defense. That's on individuals. And that has to change. That's unacceptable. These players have been through pressure. They've been through hard situations. They haven't been through them in this way, where your back's against the wall in a negative perspective. Probably outside of the trip to Yankee Stadium to open the playoffs. And even that, you're in the playoffs. It's a different perspective than you're trying to battle to turn your season around. That's a different level of pressure. And we're going to see what Frank DeBoer is all about in these next 2 weeks. We're going to see what these players are all about. Because you need to see a performance at Gillette Stadium that is indicative of the situation, of that desperation. And that's where I think you're at. I don't think the defense is clearly lost. I think it's individual mistakes that are killing you right now. And in general, you haven't created enough chances to overcome it. You did create enough chances on Saturday night in Columbus, even in the conditions. But when you give up goals, you always run the possibility of a goalkeeper standing on his head, and Zach Steffen did. And that also has to be recognized. Let's take a break here. Let's get Jay Riddle on the line, see what he's thinking right after this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Overreaction Monday on Soccer Down Here, April 1st edition. And April 1st is an important day in the life of Jay Riddle. It's his birthday, y'all. What's up, Jay? Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to me. Rock and roll.
And you get to spend it with us after an
That's
Atlanta
right.
United loss.
I can't imagine any better way to spend my birthday than with you guys. So
I can think of a few different ways, Jay. Just a few. Let's start. How did you consume the match on a Saturday night? I think I saw some tweets from you, and it sounded like an interesting watching experience.
Well, I'm a dum-dum, as you know, so it's been a while since I've watched a match when it's not on TV that I can, see it. Basically, I was at my in-laws, and typically on Fox Sports South, you can get the match, but there was a Predators game, and they're in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this.
And I completely forgot that Fubo TV has Fox Sports South. Didn't even realize that, so I didn't think about that. I have Fubo TV, and I forgot that I have Fox Sports Go. So I was trying to watch it watch it through my Xfinity Watch app, which of course is a blackout because it's detecting where I am. And so I ran around in circles for like the first 5 or 10 minutes, like trying to figure out what I was doing, but it worked out. We watched it on Jenny's Kindle. So
nice.
That's tremendous. But overall thoughts of what you were able to glean from both the media that is social and from what you might have watched?
Oh my goodness. I don't know what to glean from the match, other than the fact that, we need to stop conceding early goals. But after that, after the 40th minute, after even the first 30, 40 minutes, it just was ridiculous. It was unwatchable. If you put corny music to the second half, it would have been, like a bloopers reel of sliding and stopping.
So you'd run yakety sacks under the final 50 minutes?
Right. So it was ridiculous. It was embarrassing, to be honest, for the league, I think, and so that was my main takeaway. I don't know how to analyze it. I really don't. Other than the fact is, we have to tighten up early on. We have to stay focused. Making silly mistakes, stuff like that. But we had some chances that we just didn't convert on. Columbus had 2 chances and then scored 2 goals. So they basically, won the lottery, that match. And then we had chances. Breck Shea created one, but Andrew Carlton said he couldn't see the ball. I don't know if it was the rain in his eyes or whatever. So he missed that header. Gressel missed one early on, but in the second half, he looked stronger. So again, it's very frustrating, right? Because we wanted a result. We wanted the opportunity to see what this last 2 weeks did in terms of rest and additional training, and kind of felt like this was throwaway. Just throw it out the window and look ahead to New England at this point.
Yeah, it was difficult to really get much out of it. The man of the match is Zach Steffen. The saves he made won the match for Columbus and kept Atlanta off the board. You created some good chances out of this while the field was somewhat playable, and that deteriorated really right before halftime. I think you posted the quick clip of after Brad Gazan makes the penalty save, wringing out his goalkeeper gloves.
I've never seen anything like that.
Never seen it.
That was
Never
wild.
ever seen that. That's just insanity. It was brutal. But, again, you get in that situation because you concede early. So it's a hard game to read. And look, this has been a weird season for this type of stuff. You had bad conditions in D.C. They were nothing compared to this. You had the travel. You had injuries. You've had a lot of stuff go on so far. How do you feel right now with another bye week coming up and then a trip to New England looming in less than 2 weeks? How do you feel about the team right now?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think you mentioned it just before the break, and I've been kind of saying the same thing to people, is as long as Frank has the dressing room, then, I'm not concerned. And the way that players are talking, they seem to deflect when people ask questions or journalists ask questions about, is it the formation, is it the system? And they kind of deflect and say, no, we just need to have more time together and train. And so I don't get any insight. I know there's tons of psychics out there on social media reading tea leaves and reading Instagram posts, and I don't have that ability, so I don't have those powers to look into their minds and to detect whether they're unhappy or not.
I'll call Miss Cleo and see if we can get some answers.
Yeah. I mean, I'll leave that to the psychics of the Twitter world. So Evan Lane out of Twitter, but for the most part, my biggest concern is actually New England we've never gone up there and just wrecked them. We had last season we had draws against them.
Last year and draw up there in 17.
Yeah, and so they're difficult to play at home, and Bunbury is on fire right now, and it's going to be a real test. But at the same time, if we do beat them, I think that sort of starts to wash away all of this that just happened this past couple of weeks. I don't think it takes away the reservations or the concerns. We are at the bottom of the table. No one wants to see that. That's kind of, like I said, I tweeted, life comes at you fast, right? MLS Cup and now last place. But at the same time, this is MLS, and we saw what Seattle did. That's not the route we want to take, obviously, is wait till July, August to start to get into a groove. But we know that there's time. And as long as the players are behind Frank, then I'm going to be behind whatever they're working on. And I just hope that I wished for my birthday. I don't need gifts. I just want everybody to avoid ripping each other to pieces before the New England game, because my biggest concern is actually not the team, it's the fan base. Avoiding turning on each other, like I said last time I was on, because using words like enemy or you're divisive or what's a true fan versus a fake fan, that kind of gatekeeping that we kind of made fun of Portland Timbers for, we're doing it ourselves a little bit, and I think we need to avoid that. And I just hope we find a sense of humility, and I always try to find humor in the situation, so I'm putting together a video right now of all the slip and slide action, and maybe we'll put that to a funny soundtrack. I mean, what can you do?
I like it.
Yeah, so if find Yakety Sax, find Esther Williams. Yes, kids, use the Google to figure out who Esther Williams is. When Unrelegated goes out and does its tapings that are either attached to watching game action or not, when you guys go out into the community, what has the vibe been like over this last couple of weeks, say? And I mean, you can take it back as far as you want. Is the general vibe away from social media one of, okay, we're patient, we see what things are happening here, or is it different? What is the vibe when you guys go out into the community?
I think it's a mixed bag. I think if you were to do a round table, you have a lot of different takes. I think where the biggest divergence is everybody. I think most people agree that that the team needs time. I think where the divergence is how much time? What is that critical decision point? When do things have to change? When are decisions made? When is, the debate that happens a lot is, when would it be when would the decision be made to fire a Frank de Boer? Would it be in August? Would it be if we didn't make the playoffs? Would it be even if we didn't make the playoffs because of the league and parity, would it be, and him not having a chance to really kind of get the pieces he wants, like Tata had full choice of all the pieces he wanted to put together for the first 2 seasons. Is it waiting till next May? When you have, in the summer transfer window, other coaches available, because at the end of the day, like, who do you replace him with? And I think I think it's new for our team base to be having these types of discussions. So I find it interesting, that we're kind of crawling our way through this and figuring things out, because this is something we're not used to dealing with. Now, I mean, some people follow other teams very closely in England, and maybe their team has gone through similar challenges and stuff like that. But yeah, it's different when it's your hometown, right? So it's all across the board. And I think what I'm finding is that more than anything, that's pretty much the same across the board, as expectations are shifting. So where I think, at the beginning of the season, it was CONCACAF Champions League or bust. And then it was MLS Cup or bust. Now it's like, yeah, U.S. Open Cup would be nice to get a chance, to make CONCACAF Champions League. Making the playoffs would be nice. So it's crazy how fast the expectations have shifted. But with this playoff system and stuff like that, you're always in it till you're not. So,
yeah, I mean, when you look at the table right now, and it can really drive you crazy when you're
looking at Portland. Look at Portland.
Look at Portland. Look at the Red Bulls, who won the Supporters Shield last year. They're 2 points ahead of you. They took one draw and turned it into a win. That's the difference. The Red Bulls are outside the playoff picture right now. Right now, your playoff picture in the Eastern Conference: DC, who I think is legit; Toronto, who I think is legit; Columbus, yeah, I don't think they're at DC and Toronto level. I think Columbus is a step back from them. They've played one more game than DC, 2 more games than Toronto. Philadelphia, we've seen a mixed bag of results from Philadelphia. Cincinnati, mixed bag of results. Montreal just lost 7-1 over the weekend, but they're in a playoff spot. Orlando's in a playoff spot. And they've looked all over the map at times. So these are the things I think you have to keep in mind. Yeah, this is different, Jay. I mean, this is not what Atlanta United's ever been through. If you followed teams in any sport or other soccer teams around the world, clubs go through this sometimes. Manchester United's gone through it lately. In the last, 10 years since Alex Ferguson left, they've had their ups and downs. Arsenal has went through it, maybe not quite to that degree. They've been a little more consistent. Other clubs have had big swings. Chelsea's kind of going through a weird time right now. What advice would you give to the fan base?
I mean, I don't know if I'm good at giving advice. I feel like I always sound like, I'm always kind of making fun of people that sound like your dad, right? They're out there like.
Then let's put it this way: what do you keep in mind to keep perspective?
Yeah,
exactly.
From my perspective, what I have to do is, I'm actually not naturally an optimist at all. I'm kind of a pessimist, so I have to find humor and humility in things. It takes a conscious effort sometimes, because otherwise it will consume you. Right. So you have a choice. Like, either you can wallow in the pessimism and you can look at all the bad things that have happened and the what ifs and look back, or you can just look forward and look at all the time and space that's still available. And that's hard for me. I'm not natural. That's not a natural disposition I have. My default setting is to set the world on fire. So I have to find humor in it and use it as an opportunity to maybe, find some self-deprecation, because guess what? When we're losing, other fan bases are going to jump on it. They're going to make funny memes. They're going to troll you. And you just got to take it with a grain of salt and kind of use the time to say, hey, it is what it is, right? So you can either embrace it, in my opinion, or let it just swallow you whole.
And one of the things, going off the page here a little bit, one of the cool things that you've been able to do this year as a part of the promotion for Atlanta United are the Tony Schiavone game prep video.
Tony Schiavone!
Oh, and I want to get into that, because that's one of the ways that you've been able to have fun this year. And when those started to come out, for me, as someone who is a complete and total smark for that era of wrestling, to see Tony get it, and Jason, I know you can comment on this as well, just to see Tony embrace this and be able to to promote it in this way. I think it's been another cool aspect of what you've been able to do this year.
Yeah, the promo videos are a lot of fun. It's something totally different, right? I've never seen a radio station or anything do anything like it, and I'm happy to have been asked to be a part of it. And it's something you can kind of look forward to each week, regardless of what the result was last week. And I hope people look forward to see which players will be in the promo. And sometimes I sneak in a little nugget there in the tail of the tape, some funny bits that are kind of quick if you catch it. But the other thing too is just one of the things that I've been doing is I've been using it as an opportunity to follow Atlanta United 2 more closely. And they're a lot of fun to watch right now. And so there are a lot of positive things happening. Andrew Carlton had time last match. I thought he has had an impact, and Romario Williams as well. And these are guys that you can watch play quite regularly, quite often on Atlanta United 2, as well as some other folks. And it's going to be interesting to see if Gallagher comes up, because I think at the end of the day, my biggest concern, guys, is Franco being out again, because that seemed to be such a pivotal thing that Frank de Boer even talked about, that his formation, his decisions, his tactics were quite affected by Franco's absence. So that's my biggest concern is who slots in there. Do we see Ambrose again over there, or do we see someone like Gallagher get a chance to come up? And I know he's still rough around the edges in terms of defending and stuff at times, but he also, he's strong going forward, and we need to create chances, and that's the kind of stuff we're looking for. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout when it comes to Gallagher. You're at a stage now with the types of matches you have coming up. Ambrose starting on the right side in Monterrey, I'm still completely fine with that decision, because you knew you were going to defend a lot. The types of games you have coming up, though, you have to take it to these teams. So you're going to need, if Franco's unavailable, I think what we've learned is that the team has created more chances out of 4 in the back. It's giving you an extra body going forward. It's worked a little bit better. Okay, so you're going to roll with that. If Franco's unavailable, I think against New England, against Dallas, against Colorado, you need to look at a different option than Ambrose on the right. And Gallagher, I would agree. I think he is a guy who's ready for that level.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing a potential Gallagher, and if not, that's fine. But, obviously they know his development better than we do. But, I've been kind of chomping at the bit to see him get a first-team start. And I think once U.S. Open Cup starts too, that'll give us a bit of a distraction, because we'll kind of see some of these guys. Like, I'd love to see a Sayadu in an Open Cup match. I mean, gosh, he is just a bumblebee running all over the field.
Tons of activity.
Yes.
Inconsistent, but
2 assists the
last
match, right?
Yes.
2 assists the last match, and just a destroyer back there. Needs to work on his giving the ball away at times in midfield or in our own half. But other than that, I mean, he's just exciting to watch. So a lot of positive things happening, right? And we talk about we wanted to see more young players and development and stuff like that, and I think that's still going to happen this season. I don't get the sense that just because we're struggling at the moment with results, we're going to see less of those guys and things like that.
Well, Jay, let's wrap it up here. What do you have coming up this week over at Unrelegated besides the slip and slide commercial that you're going to film and get ready to go? What else do you have coming up?
Yeah, so last week I was hanging out with AJ and Devin of Atlanta United Fan TV, and we had the chance to head over to Ink and Dagger Tattoo in Roswell and record some fun stuff with Breck Shea as he got a tattoo. So that's something that's getting put together. We also had a new segment or new show called Kit Chat that will be airing at some point on Atlanta United Fan TV. Our first guest was Kate Riley of CNN International Sports, and so that was a lot of fun. So just a lot of cool new programming, new stuff coming out. Queens of the South will record tomorrow, and we're still working out the bugs and kinks, mainly meaning me trying to figure out how I can successfully record it and edit video and start getting unrelegated podcasts into video format up on Atlanta Fan TV. So we'll continue to chip away at that as well.
So before we send you away, did you ask Kate about Ipswich Town and their possible relegation? I know it's a soccer over there question, but
I believe she brought it up, and but yeah, that you'll have to tune in to find out how that went.
Excellent tease there, sir.
Yeah.
Good work. Jay's learning the ropes. I like it. Jay, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for spending some time with us on your birthday, and happy birthday, dude. Keep doing everything you do.
Happy birthday, sir.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Cheers.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, get into more Overreaction Monday tweets, and we'll talk about the crazy travel day I had on Saturday as well, because it was ridiculous. It was a weird day.
Yes, it was.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, Overreaction Monday, April 1st. More reactions from the peeps out there. What do we have, John?
Walt Baxley, 2 goals in 4 league games. Hard to get 3 points when you score half a goal a game. Defense is fine. Scoring to me is the issue. How do we fix that?
Keep doing what you're doing. You're creating more chances and better chances going forward. I think you saw, while the field was playable, something that I've been talking about a good bit. You want to get Ezequiel Barco on the ball. He needs to be the primary. You want to use other sport terms in it. He needs to be the primary ball handler. He needs to be the primary ball carrier, whatever you want. You need to play through Ezequiel Barco. And that's with Pity Martinez in the team. Pity Martinez can play off of that, whether it's Tito Villalba, whether it's Julian Gressel, who you can create chances for him to deliver a killer pass. Gressel usually doesn't create them on his own. You need someone to do that. I think Barco's that guy. And even in the conditions, Barco played, into the 60th minute or so? Something like that.
Yeah.
I'll have to pull out the box score in a minute. But played into the second half. He passed at a 96% clip in those conditions. He had the maybe the best chance for Atlanta United, hitting it off the skip. Stefan makes the unbelievable save. I think you need to play through Barco more. I do think you're creating more out of a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 or 4-1-2-3 or whatever you want to call it. We all know it's basically the same thing. I think you're creating more chances out of that. So that's going to be an issue if Franco Escobar's out. You're going to have to make some hard decisions about what you do. I do think John Gallagher is a player who can be in that conversation. But I think you're trending in the right direction, and I know it's hard to say that after not scoring in Columbus. But that's where I think the conditions do affect the way you think about this match. You conceded early. You created chances. Stefan made 5 saves. He's the man of the match. But you're creating more. Tata Martino talked about it last year. He wasn't worried if you were creating chances. He was worried if you weren't creating chances. You weren't creating chances early this season. You are now. You have to keep at it, and you have to finish some. I don't think you had poor finishing on a Saturday night. I don't think that was the issue. Because you had 4 quality chances that in a lot of games, you're going to score at least 1 or 2 of those.
To answer your question, Barco played 63, and that was the Romario sub.
Okay. Yeah, and at that point, it's, why do you need a guy who can dribble? Because Barco figured it out maybe faster than anybody. Flip the ball up to yourself and run like a seal down the field, keeping the ball off the ground. And that's where you can actually make something happen. And to have to go through that thought process in a match is ridiculous.
And Joseph was pulling the 81st for the 9 minutes of Breck Shea, and he had the 2 shots in 9 minutes with the 1 shot.
Yeah, and I saw Brian Sciaretta, who's a really good reporter out there, covers a lot of national team stuff, make a tweet, again, slamming Frank DeBoer for pulling out Joseph Martinez when you're down 2-0. If you're not watching that game, you see that come across, sure, you're going to make a comment. But there was nothing for Joseph to do in that game. He wasn't seeing anything, and he was done. I mean, he put in everything he had. He worked hard. He swam for the second half for the most part. You bring in another big body, and you're seeing what you can find. Your best way was to get something through the air. It wasn't to get anything on the ground.
John Nason with a couple of points. First one is hashtag Escobar, along with hashtag Overreaction Monday. Pulling a groin muscle smells of slipping on wet grass to me.
I have not seen groin. I saw adductor. Now, if that's changed, it absolutely could have been. But I've seen adductor. So that's higher up than a groin injury, if I'm not mistaken. I think I need to add some athletic training work to my research going forward.
I didn't take anatomy and physiology in high school, although I did learn that from Gordon Soley.
Ah, well, there you go. I think it's different than a groin, but
thigh.
Oh, okay, thigh. I didn't think that was a
thigh.
The
adductor longus is a skeletal muscle located in the thigh, one of the adductor muscles of the hip. Its main function is to adduct the thigh, and it is innervated by the obturator nerve. It forms the medial wall of the femoral triangle.
That was far more than I needed to know. But anyway, it could be wet field. It could not be wet field. That's going to be a hard one to put on it. But you also have a player who's coming back into fitness. Hopefully it's not a long-term issue. John Nason says adductor groin. So he is saying that your medical training that you just did on Google is incorrect, sir.
Well, harumph.
Yeah. So I'm going to believe Nason over Nelson on this one. Both John spelled the same way. And it could be. We're never going to know. But it could be. Hopefully it's not a long-term thing. He's got 2 weeks. But I go back to the main point here that you're creating more chances out of a 4-man back line, out of a 4-3-3-ish type of shape. You need to keep with it. And if that means you need to bring John Gallagher up and throw him in at the deep end, you do. And I think he's ready for it. I think he can handle it.
Let's see. Michael Valverde, weather was a non-starter, but Stefan was the difference in this game. It was a magic act to keep a clean sheet. Atlanta United created plenty of chances to get a result. That's progress.
Yeah, I mean, they created more chances. They had 16 shots. They had 5 on target. Even in the crazy conditions, I believe they had the majority of those before the conditions completely deteriorated, although they were looking dangerous in the last 10 minutes or so. Breck Shea had a good chance. Romario was battling. I mean, Carlton with the one where the sideways rain in your face and the wind blowing in your face where he was. The wind was blowing, because that was right in front of us. The wind was blowing from our back onto the field. There were times that I thought like our stuff was going to go flying over the rail. It was blowing so hard. So the conditions were brutal for that, and that's why you can't fall behind. They did. They lost. That should have been our post-game show.
Yeah. And then John Nason's precursor to his Escobar tweet, it's 4 games out of 34, not panicking yet, ! At Mike Conti 929 pointed out the trend of ever-increasing chances created. Scoring goals is hard. Luck plays a part. Chances will start dropping, and someone will feel the wrath of Joseph soon! ! #Overreaction Monday.
Yeah, the hard thing about it is that you have now added pressure to a match in New England, which is a place you haven't won before. It's a team you should beat. It's a team you have beaten badly in Atlanta. But now you've got a game that is pressure-packed on April 13th. That's not where you want to be. Now, if you do what you should do, and yes, what I'm saying you should do if you are Atlanta United, you should be able to go to New England and get a win. You should be able to then come home and you're playing FC Dallas, who has looked pretty good. They're 3-1-1. Young team. They did not fare well in their previous trip to the Benz. That's a game you should win at home. And then you get Colorado. That's a game that you should win at home. That's your next 3. Now you're looking at you need 9 points. You don't like to be in that situation. You don't like to be in must-win territory at this stage of the season. But for the vibe around the team, for the confidence of the team, and yeah, for the confidence of the fan base, you need 9 points out of that. Now, is 9 points going to fix everything? Nope, it's not. Because then, right after that, you have a very difficult week. You go to Kansas City on Cinco de Mayo. You come back to Atlanta to host Toronto on May 8th. Then you stay in Atlanta to host Orlando City on May 12th. It's a tough week. That's why 9 points out of your next 3 matches is needed. It's not must win all 3, but man, if you lose that first one, can you imagine? Can you imagine Overreaction Monday on April 15th if you lost in New England and then you're going into these back-to-back home games? Can you imagine the mood at the Benz? Don't need to be there. Got to take
block
care
out
of
a
business
third
in New
hour.
England. Yeah, block out a whole day. You're gonna need to take care of business in New England. That's just what you're looking at more and more and more. And you have 2 weeks to get ready for it. And you have to take full advantage. This is the first extended time of training you've had with everybody since the start of preseason. Got to make it count. One more before we go to break.
FC Waffle. How has the Atlanta United brand been hurt this season? Everywhere you turn, everyone's down on Atlanta United.
Everybody's talking about Atlanta United too, and that's part of the brand. Is everybody talking about Columbus Crew right now? I don't think so. Is everybody talking about the Houston Dynamo right now? They're 3-0-1. No. Everybody's talking about Atlanta United because it's a big brand.
You're the defending champs.
They're the defending champs. They are the big club in MLS, and that's a fact. Sometimes big clubs have these things. Nobody stopped talking about Real Madrid, and man, you talk about some issues. Now, La Liga is a little different in that you have some teams that have beaten Real Madrid and earned points off of Real Madrid that have no business doing so. You don't really have that much disparity in MLS outside of maybe 1 or 2 situations. But people have not diminished Real Madrid's brand. Manchester United's brand grew since Alex Ferguson left, even though they're horrendous at times. So a big club's a big club. Now, you don't have as much history. You have 2 years to build on. And this is where I think as a fan, loyalties get tested a little bit. It's easy when the team's playing well, and it's the exciting thing to do, and it's easy to go to the game. It's easy to block out time. It's easy to listen to everything. It's easy to talk about with friends. When times are hard, sometimes it's easy to talk about because there's a lot to talk about. But it's also easy to say, you know what, I don't want that right now. I'm going to step away. I'm going to go over here. But becoming a fan is part of this stuff. So let's take a break here. We'll get into more Overreaction Monday right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Today's show is presented by Apolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. It's Overreaction Monday. What do you expect, you know? That's how we go.
Technology's overreacting.
Yes. What other overreactions do we have, sir?
We have a few.
Okay.
Let's see. Michael Head on a hashtag Overreaction Monday. Please help me. In retrospect, in your opinion, why did the front office hire a European coach when the majority of the squad is Latin? I know Frank is fluent in Spanish, but would Guillermo Barros Escalotto have been a better fit? I'm grasping at straws as I do not understand.
I don't think it's an issue. There were a lot of questions about Guillermo Barros Escalotto as well. When the news came out, there were a lot of Argentine media pundits who came out and said that would be a terrible hire for Atlanta United. That happened. It's honestly where you're at. Anytime you hire anybody, there's going to be groups that say it's a good thing. There's going to be groups that say it's a bad thing. And what matters is how the results come out. And they haven't come out so far. But I don't think it's an issue with him being a European manager and the squad being a lot of Latin players. I don't think that's an issue at all. Like, I don't see that as a problem. Do you?
No, I don't. I mean, he speaks multiple languages. I mean, how crisply does he transfer from one language to another in any press conference situation?
Pretty easily.
And having the worldly experience that he does, as a player, as a manager, take your pick. I mean, I don't see any communication being an issue, and it's just getting back to the point that, if you want to get back to the point that was made in earlier positions with Frank DeBoer, he said it's going to take time to do things, and so right now you're in that process. Players are creating more opportunities, and if you look at the stats against Columbus, the numbers were there. That the stats continue to improve. It's just you went up against someone who absolutely stood on his head. It happens. We talked about defensive breakdowns. We did that in hour number one. That we're not sloughing that off at all. So, Michael, I don't think that DeBoer is the issue. Getting to what Fourcard Ahmed says as a precursor to that, he wants to know why is there a lot of folks so eager to get rid of him. So what happens for the rest of the season? And Jay made this point. I don't see Tatar Pep coming here. Moreno ain't coming. This was only game 4 of 38. It's a long season, y'all. Hashtag Overreaction Monday.
Yeah, that's true. Let's hear from Frank DeBoer. Was this after the match, the longer clip that you sent me?
Yeah, this was the media scrum after the match itself. The shorter one was his post-match from TV. The longer one was the scrum itself.
Let's hear the longer one. It's about 1:20. Here's Frank DeBoer after the match Saturday.
Can we take anything out of this game because of the conditions?
I think we can only talk about the first half hour after the game. The circumstances were also not great, but you could play a little bit. And I think, of course, we started very bad to concede a goal, but afterwards I think we played quite well. We created our chances. I think we had 4 good chances, like 3 very good chances. And they had 2 chances and scored 2 times. And that's also football. But I think we can only talk about those first 30 minutes because that was it looks like football, and the rest, was It was also with luck, and everything. But it was also dangerous for our players and also for the other team. It was dangerous circumstances. Whatever he said, they couldn't call it football anymore.
Coach, how challenging was it for Escobar to have to make his return tonight?
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy, and he was so eager to play. And these circumstances doesn't help him. He has now maybe a little tightness in his adductors, but hopefully he's okay. But it was great to see him back on the pitch.
Yeah, so Frank said a little tightness in the adductors for Escobar coming off, and we'll see if we get an update this week. I don't think where Frank's from is the issue here. I'm not seeing that right now. I'm seeing a team that is going through a transition. I'm seeing a team that is playing without a player like Miguel Almiron, and as much as Joseph Martinez deserved the MVP award last year, I think we're seeing that a player like Miguel Almiron was the player who Atlanta United relied on more than anybody. I think he always gave you an out that you don't have at the moment. and you have to be playing better to deal without having him. And I think what we're seeing him do at Newcastle is showing his quality. Those are some big transitions. Those are some big differences. And pile on travel, pile on the pressure of CONCACAF early on, pile on a new manager, pile on the weird weather you've had, and that's where you're at right now. I don't think it's a Frank issue. I really don't. I think it's an issue that you would have if it was Steve or John or Jose or anybody. I think it is a very difficult time, and now, because of the results, you have to turn it around to get the most out of New England that you can. You have to do that. One more before we take a break.
Okay. Cliff, at Seoul, as in South Korea, *_ATL. Is it wrong for me to draw comparisons to both Caleb Porter and GBS? They both are their first year as managers for their respective clubs, inherited a similar roster from the year before, but have somehow managed to achieve success so far this season.
Porter and Berhalter are pretty similar. And Porter picked going to Columbus, too, I think, knowing that he had the pieces he had to work with. So that one's a little different. Schelotto has gotten some results. Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about an LA Galaxy team that won last night, and they are currently 3-1-0. They scored 7 goals in 4 matches. They've conceded 6, but they've won their 3 matches at home. Now, they've only had 1 game on the road. That does factor in a little bit, too. But would Schelotto have come in here and done as well? I don't know. I know there's not really a way to know. I mean, we're all speculating, but I remember I did the digging on Schelotto. I thought he would have been fine here. The team would have pressed. They would have been different than they are now for sure, and there's always the question, would that have worked? They would have pressed more than they did previously. They would have pressed a lot more than they did in 2018. That's a fact. But would it have worked? We don't know.
There you go. We've got some other stuff in the queue from very early this morning. You want to go to break now, or you want to keep going?
Let's take a final break here real quick, and we'll come back and finish up on an Overreaction Monday on SDH. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Final segment, Soccer Down here. Overreaction Monday, April 1st. Atlanta United 2-0 loss in Columbus in a rain-soaked, waterlogged, I don't even know what to call it, quagmire. Is that fair?
Sure. That's more of a swampy thing, but that would apply.
Yeah, it was cold swamp. Ugh.
So is that what's cold soup?
No clue.
It's not vichyssoise. It's
gazpacho.
Thank you. So basically the field at Montfrey was gazpacho.
Looked it, except it wasn't red, thankfully.
Gazpacho grass.
Yes.
Eichmann. Barco has the makings of one of the best playmakers in the league. Miles Robinson is a potential national team center back in the near future. Bello is the same at left back. We still have Joseph up top for years to come. Just breathe, people.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I understand. I was not happy to see the early goals either on Saturday. Just knowing what I thought the conditions could turn into, they got far worse than I expected. I was thinking like DC level difficulty. I wasn't thinking this. So, yeah, it's easy to get frustrated right now, and it's understandable to get frustrated. You know, I mean, we talked about it with the weather and how it was unfair to the spectators, unfair to the fans, and all that. You know, the results right now, it's not that they're unfair to you because nobody is intending to have these results, but the frustration is completely understandable because people put their time and energy into this team, and they do have a level of expectation. Atlanta United set a high bar for expectation. That's a good thing. Those are all good things. But when you're not hitting that bar, there's going to be frustration. And there is right now. And there should be right now. I just hope it's reasonable frustration. That's what I try to strive for, is that it's not just blind frustration and anger and not being factual. That's the part that I try to push and try to make sure that, okay, there are things that are progressing. There are things that need to improve. It's not, because there's very rarely a game, John, and I can't think of one off the top of my head, where a team is just completely and utterly horrendous and embarrassing and has no business even being involved in the contest. Usually there's some good things that they do in a match, and usually there's some bad things that they do. Good teams do more good things. Atlanta United right now is not doing enough good things. It's that simple.
Yeah. The purple team last year came to mind about things. Tom Schreck has a couple of tweets in the system, and one is a detailed analysis of what he has seen so far. Part of it says, by comparison, we've allowed the same number of goals at this time in 2018. We've improved on our set-piece defense. We're in the middle of the Eastern table for goals allowed. #on par reaction Monday.
Yeah, the defensive side of it, that's been something that has surprised me a little bit. The defensive criticism, I don't think that's been the issue. You haven't created enough chances, and it's improving. And I think right now you're seeing that you're improving. You're creating more chances out of a 4-3-3-ish type of shape. You are. Right now, you need to play in that. And if you don't have Franco Escobar, I think you need to figure out what other options you have to give you that, whether it's Julian Gressel as a right back, as you saw at the end of the match in Columbus, or it's John Gallagher. I think that decision is going to be a very difficult one going forward, and that's maybe the biggest thing that I'm looking at as you get closer to New England.
Thad Dooley has an etiquette question.
Okay.
He's wondering if it's socially acceptable to take a 7-week-old to the April 20th match so I can use my tickets for the first time this year.
That's a good question. I think so. I have seen lots of pictures of babies with headphones on at matches.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, is the noise is an issue. But Jarrett can probably chime in on this, actually. So
yeah, because
that might
Ivy
be
Board, I think, has her own set of headphones, doesn't she?
Yes. That might be a tag Jarrett_Smith on Twitter and get advice type of response.
Okay. Retweeting with comment. CC @ Jarrett_Smith. Oh, and by the way, that picture that he sent in hour number 1 was from halftime of a match at Georgia State, where they basically kicked the ball around and said, nah. Let's see. Kevin from Charlotte says he said it last year, said it again this year. Atlanta United's one and done in the playoffs. That's his overreaction on Monday. Tom Schreck at JAMMS. I guess
it's way
Jams.
too early to make playoff predictions. So
yeah,
not there
Tom
yet.
Schreck's larger analysis of 2019 to 2018 came in just before the show started, and it's at Jams, 2 M's on Twitter, JAMMS. So if you want to look into that, there's a lot of stuff that he has there. It's a good dissertation. Shiva, before the show, said, too many dollars, too much power invested in the offense. In your opinion, what needs to happen if we are in mid-June and we are looking the same?
If you're in mid-June and you're looking the same and there's no progress, you're probably going to have a lot of pressure on the manager to keep his job. I think that's where you are as a club. If you're at the bottom of the Eastern Conference and it's mid-June, there's going to be a problem. I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect that at all. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that trajectory. But yeah, that's who you are as a club. Siggy Schmid was let go by Seattle in mid-season, right as they were bringing Nicholas Ladero in, and they went on to win MLS Cup that year. I'm trying to think of others. I mean, we've seen it happen where a top team is in a bad spot in June, and they make a change. That's not uncommon. It's not uncommon to see teams change managers in midseason. I don't see that happening here because I think the trajectory is going in the right direction. But I do think New England is a really big match. I think New England is a very important match for this team going forward. I think it sets the tone for those next 2 home matches where you're looking at potentially 9 points. And that should be the goal.
Nick Landfear says his overreaction Monday, the lads do not have a future in any water sports.
They do not. Maybe Barco, because he was doing his best to surf on top of it. Yeah, Carlton watched a little bit and learned a little bit from it as well. One of the funniest things that happened was I think Carlton was involved in it over in the corner, and I think I saw this right. I was looking through Sideways Rain. It was a ball that looked like it went out, and it should have been an Atlanta throw. And I think the AR was trying to move his arm to put the flag up, and the flag hit his leg.
And he dropped the flag.
And he dropped it. And so he didn't make the call. The play continued, and Atlanta earned a corner out of it. So they upgraded because the AR dropped his flag. And it just continued, and it became a corner. I was like, okay. Maybe this is the break that team needs. No, it's not. But that made me laugh a little bit.
Yes. Jarrett and the Garlic Bread Warlord are both co-signing the notion of headsets. Ivy Board had some weeks into her life, and the Duchess was taking the games very early on. Headphones were critical, according to Nick Alifi. Yes, Chris Berry, excellent point. At one Chris Berry says, Barco's success in the rain can be attributed to his namesake. Hashtag overreaction, man.
Of course. That's a good point. Yes. Barco can glide through the rain.
The one thing we have not gotten into is travel up there on Soccer Down Here.
Yeah, it just added to all the chaos on Saturday. For whatever reason, like every flight into the state of Ohio was sold out. Ours was overbooked, and I believe Mike figured out that people were getting bumped because of crew members or other people who got bumped into that flight. I don't know, but I wasn't assigned a seat and ended up getting bumped from the flight. And they were moving everybody from that flight to a flight that would arrive in Columbus at 10:30 at night, which was kind of pointless. So as I'm waiting on the gate agent to try to get stuff done, because he was a little overwhelmed with everything happening all at once, I start looking on the app and seeing that, well, there's no way to get to Cincinnati. There's no way to get to Cleveland. There's no way to get to Dayton. I looked at Lexington, and there was a way to get into Lexington. There were 3 tickets left. So I was waiting it out with the gate agent. The gate agent was just unable to get any. He couldn't get, like, I think he couldn't get the passes printed for people. Like, he was having a problem at the counter. And I refreshed the app, and there was 1 ticket left to Lexington. So it's like, well, going to Lexington and renting a car. And that's what I ended up doing. So for flew into Lexington and then drove from Lexington, Kentucky to Columbus. It should have been about 3 hours. It ended up being closer to 4.5 because of the rain, because of traffic around Cincinnati. There was some construction and stuff. So I pulled into the stadium at just after about 5:15. And, I mean, it was just craziness. So, then drove the rental car back to the airport the next morning and flew home. It was a wild one. It was a different type of experience. I've driven to games, though, like flashback to Atlanta FC and Atlanta Silverbacks Reserves days of driving to Birmingham or Huntsville or Chattanooga or Greenville for games. So been there, done that. Old Ruckus days, we drove to Richmond. We drove to, not like right before a game, we drove up the night, or we actually drove up, overnight and arrived like the morning of the match.
Oh, what was the Open Cup fiasco that one year?
No, it wasn't Open Cup. It was playoffs in the NPSL in 2008. Atlanta FC was the division winner, and they had to go play the Midwest division winner. But 2 weeks out, we didn't know who that was going to be. So we booked flights into Chicago, and you're talking about a team with no budget and basically scraping money together to get these tickets to fly into Chicago because 3 of the 4 or 2 of the 3 possibilities were in the Chicago area. Of course, the team that ended up winning the division was St. Paul, Minnesota, and it would have been the whole next year's budget to change the tickets to St. Paul. So we flew into Chicago, rented vans, and drove to St. Paul, and there was a torrential rainstorm that was so bad I actually had to pull off the road because you couldn't see. And we got to the stadium in St. Paul a little over an hour before kickoff. Lost 2-1 or 3-2. I don't remember. It was chaos. Player got sent off in mistaken identity, second yellow. And then the craziest part about it was we had to drive immediately back to Chicago because we had flights out in the morning. And Chicago to St. Paul is 8 hours, I think.
I was going to say, that's not a short drive, sir.
No, 7 or 8. I mean, this one wasn't bad from Lexington to Columbus. I lived in Lexington for 5 years, and that part was kind of cool.
Oh, the picture of your high school that you posted on your Instagram.
I got to, the airport was close to that. I pulled off and got something to eat and drove by the high school and drove through the old neighborhood on the way back on the interstate to head up to Columbus. So that was kind of cool. That was a little bonus. But, yeah, you do what you got to do. It wasn't even a question to me. It was like, I'm just going to do what it takes to get there and figure it out afterwards. And that's what I did. So got there in time to get very cold and wet and watch a very weird, somewhat soccer game. Not completely. So,
yeah.
But full credit to everybody in Columbus, too. Like, the organization, look, they had a full house in terms of broadcasts. Both teams had their own local broadcast. Both teams had their English language radio. Columbus had Spanish language radio. We were in a position that was on the side of the field, but up kind of near the press box area in a tent. And the way that the wind was blowing and the way that the water was ending up, like, we would have probably lost our feed because of just everything getting destroyed. That's where
it got to the point to where Sports South was having rain fade issues, and they were losing their transmission in the second half as well.
Yeah, so we were worried about that, and everybody with the crew helped us move to a position behind the goal under the big overhang, the stage area. And that was outstanding. It was different. It was different to call a game from there. You didn't really have a lot of view of stuff on the far end. But it was cool for tactics. It was cool to see the game from that perspective. And just the fact that we were able to stay mostly dry was amazing. And Columbus went above and beyond. Very good organization there. And all the stuff that they've had to go through to get to this point. I tip my hat to them. And they took really good care of us. It's one of those things that you never know if you're going to get that consideration. Columbus gave it to you in spades. They were great. So thanks to everybody in Columbus. Thanks to everybody who listened. I know we lost the streaming side of it on the app. There was some kind of issue on the national side with programming and the app, and there was nothing that we could do on the ground in Columbus. We were calling the game and trying to get every message out that we possibly could to figure out what was going on, and eventually it did come back late in the second half and then for the full-time report. So just thanks to everybody who went out of their way to listen and let us know they were listening and ride along through this crazy weather with us. It was very much appreciated because we were battling it out just like everybody else.
I think that's a show. I think we're caught up.
I think that's a show. We'll be back tomorrow with Tuesday Thoughts, and we'll see where the Tuesday Thoughts are after the chaos. We'll see where my voice is and where my hopefully not a cold coming on because, it was kind of crappy weather. Hopefully none of that happens. I'll be drinking some tea the rest of the day, and we'll go from there. Stay tuned on Soccer Over There programming notes. We'll have something for you later. I don't know if it will be live. We might have to get creative with it. So stay tuned to @SoccerDownHere for that. Thanks, everybody, for the questions. Good conversation this morning. I understand the frustration. I'm there with you guys. I mean, I feel it in a lot of the same ways. It's frustrating because you know what this team is capable of, but keep your head about it as best you can and look at the things that are coming together. I feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I really do. I wouldn't say that if I didn't feel it. I think you saw a team that fought hard for each other, fought hard for the badge, fought hard for the manager on Saturday night, fought hard in conditions that a lot of players wouldn't. And there was nobody that you could question their effort on Saturday night. There were some mistakes made. There were some things that need to be fixed, but effort was not one of them. And that's a really good sign. You created more chances. You have to start putting them away. And you have to start better in matches. That's where you're at right now. These are all things that can be worked on, and they need to be worked on in the next 2 weeks. So with that said, thanks, John. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Mucha plot, y'all.
Mucha Sid Finch, y'all.